Welcome back to the Drone Camps channel. Today I have a new special review for you. It's a brand new release from Geprc, one of the FPV community's favorite companies, releasing bind and flies to the wild for us to fly and pretty much bind up to your radio, put your battery on there, set it up in beta flight and go out and fly. And that's the beauty of Geprc over the past 10 years on my channel. Speaking of 10 years, we're coming up on our 10th year anniversary of doing drones and FPV every day for the last 10 years. It's been quite a journey, and it does feel like the future right now with all the new flight controllers, the new systems coming out like Gemini and ELRS on the horizon. TBS Crossfire is still pretty much a mainstay of our radio operations on these drones. For the past 7 years I've flown this and it's been a fantastic system for me, and it's still my system of choice, even though I'm kind of looking at you, ELRS. I'm checking you out more and more. It is getting easier to work on those. We have brand new USB sticks that make it a lot easier for us to update the receivers now for ELRS, and things are getting easier on the ELRS side of things. But today we're here to talk about Domain. And what is Domain all about? You guys have seen teasers for it on Facebook. We saw the kind of dark contrasty images, very similar to DJI in the past when they released these dark images and only show you kind of an outline of what it is. And a lot of people from the get-go kind of guessed that, hey, that looks like a freestyle drone you guys are about to release, and you guys are right, it is a freestyle drone. It is very similar, strikingly similar to like the Nazgul Evoke series from iFlight RC, but this is Geprc's 3.6-inch freestyle dead cat ripper. And when I say dead cat, if you don't know what that means, that just means that we have swept arms in the back, sort of straight across in the front, giving us kind of full view of the camera without the props in the view. I know a lot of you guys don't like the props in view, so you won't see them on this design, but it does have really nice swept back arms. It has my nano receiver on the very bottom, which we're going to bind up to my TBS Crossfire. And in 2024 coming up, you're still going to see me flying TBS Crossfire. It is my kind of, again, my mainstay for my radio control system for all of my drones, especially for long range and the best penetration, as well as without having RC link loss. But we're going to take this little ripper out today, and we're going to see what this can handle on a 6S 1200 milliamp battery. I wouldn't really recommend anything over 1400 milliamp for this quad because it is pretty compact, it's pretty small, it is very fast and very smooth. It has a beautiful tune on here, and it should be quite durable. There's super thick arms, large motors on here. These are 2105.5s and they're 2650 kV, and they are branded the SpeedX V2 branded motors. So we've seen these before on the channel this year, but they are back with side plates. Everything is covered up here front to back, and it has a little bit of aircraft aluminum on the front, and it has silicone dampeners between the O3 camera to give it a little bit of suspension here for those kind of high vibration type of flights like you're going to get with the motors closer in. Anytime you add more power and the motors closer in, adds more vibration to the camera and the flight controller. So you have to have a pretty nice tune on here to be able to handle all this power to weight ratio. And we'll see how that works out in the flight test. But let's go ahead and charge up our batteries now. I got some brand new R-Line 5.0 versions here to fly with this quad. And I love seeing the recessed XT60 back here on the top plate of the carbon in the tail of this quad. It's not on an angle toward the back like the Nazgul Evoke. It is more of almost 90 degrees, but just a little bit offset. And I'll show you that after the flight test. We'll show you all about the new Domain right after we rip. So let's go outside, fly some packs, and after that we'll come in and have some fun with the brand new Domain, and I'll show you what this little ripper is all about. Let's do it.
Why do they talk like gangsters, but they don't move like gangsters? Why do they walk like gangsters, but they don't move like gangsters? Why do they act like gangsters, but they don't move like gangsters? Why do they rap like gangsters, but they don't move like gangsters? Change don't change like it used to. Who runs the roost round here? The coop's gone clear. Got the heart from the bass to the snares, but the word is what's keeping them here. Word to my peers. The work don't stop till the top. Think it's resting, but we're not. I spread the message and it's love. I get the S and the P and the R from above. I see the restless with the keys and the palm for the bump. A bit of grinding up what I'm on. Shouts go out to mums. This one is the icy one. Go get the Long Johns. 50 Pret in London. If it's on, then I'm on. I know they feel it when I spit. It's like the Missy song. Shut your noise. Silence when I run the voice. In your ears. Open your mind. Why do they talk like gangsters, but they don't move like gangsters? Why do they walk like gangsters, but they don't move like gangsters? Why do they act like gangsters, but they don't move like gangsters? Why do they rap like gangsters, but they don't move like gangsters? Tell your favorite rapper that I'm here, not to clash, I'm gon' collab a lot this year. Maxing out the bang, don't need no gloves or mask for that. I got this yapper era, geezer with the tracks they want to hear. Been this way for years, still they sending messages in bottles. Was this really meant or was it not for? Can't connect the dots, I got this smelly in my pocket, I forgot yo. Strictly high grade and that's the motto, unless the plug is awful. Don't do OZs, not the other lab, been left alone to be my own steez. Now they clock on, race to the bottom. I see it all, I know my options. Never gonna stop unless I often. Not Billy and Mandy, you're dealing with me and a beast, a different beast. Not feeling the average, I come with the elegant steez and do as I please. I am a mountain to a molehill, highlight of the show reel. Love me cause I'm so real. Gangsters, but they don't move like gangsters. Why do they walk like gangsters, but they don't move like gangsters? Why do they act like gangsters?
Guys, welcome back from the flight test. This is the box that you get. On the side, they have some specs on here. When you get your box, it'll let you know which receiver version you got, which battery version. And it looks like there's two types of bind and fly for the Domain. They have the 3.6 inch and they also have an odd size at 4.2 inch propellers. So it seems like this is a little different than what we've seen before, just a standard 4 inch and a standard 3.5 inch. They've gone 3.6 inch on this, and I'm not sure why. Maybe they just want you to buy their props. It's hard to tell. TBS Nano RX Geprc Taker. It is a dual up stack, two up stacked F722 SE flight controller, and it has 55 amp SE ESCs on there as well. And the VTX on here is DJI O3 Air Unit, and it does not have GPS on board. Let's go ahead and open up the box. It has some kind of cool graphics here that kind of tell you what to do and what not to do. It looks like they have a Cinewhoop here telling you share responsibilities of flying. If you're a beginner, you don't know some of these things, look it up in your own country. Every country is different, but in this box, this is the drone itself. It's looking pretty cool in the box. It was a nice presentation to open this up and see it kind of laying in there. And underneath here, we have some more goodies. A pair of Jim Fan Hurricane 3630 props, and these are clear gray tri-blade props. And those propellers were inside this box here with our Geprc stickers. We also have another box over here on the left, and inside that box, let's check this out. This is all of our hardware, as well as some more TPU accessories. And it looks like they even have some TPU dampeners. It does come with silicone dampeners on the side of this quad already kind of installed for you. If you don't want those, if you think they're too soft, you can swap them out with a more rigid one here. So that's kind of cool. And it looks like another type of maybe a camera mount, or it looks, yeah, this is a GPS mount for the very back. So the Taker can also have GPS wired up. Got your hole for your wires coming in through here, and it should just snap into place. And you could get an M10 GPS on there, which I highly recommend because it seems to get a satellite lock within about 10 seconds time. And I'm getting up to 20 satellites on those new M10 GPSs, which is really great. So in this box, let's see real quick, we've got some more straps here, and looks like there's some kind of coating on the back side of these. It may be sticky strap. You can see there's a little peel off piece there. Extra stickers, and ooh, I knew I saw a black version, like I mentioned before, of the Domain, and a little bit of shiny surface on the outside of this side plate, but it's cool. They give you some extra side plates for this drone. That's super cool. So let's go ahead and take a look at now the weight of the drone, and then we'll get into looking at the drone itself. The dry weight of the Domain is 310.6 grams. And with the 6S 1200 milliamp battery, it's going to get you up to 506.6 grams total takeoff weight. And as far as the frame goes, you know, I'm a sucker for the dead cat style frames. I love those type of frames. That's kind of my choice, even when freestyling these days. The True X is probably maybe to some people going to fly a little bit better for freestyle, but it really depends on your flying style, and it depends on the pilot. I know people who can rip this just as hard as a True X, but that's up for debate. But it does have a wheelbase of 170 millimeter from motor to motor here. 3.6-inch props. They are tri-blade props, and it has a top plate thickness of 2 millimeter. The base plate is 2.5 millimeter, and the arms are 4 mil. So these are extra thick arms. 4 millimeter arms are what you'd normally see on something like a 5-inch. 4 mil to 5 mil to even 6 mil on super hardcore bando rippers. It has a mid plate thickness of 3 millimeter. And again, we have the taker behind this little side plate right here, which I'll take off and show you guys in a minute. But we also have access to the O3 in the very back. USB ports on this side. They have a little slot there. And it looks like all the hardware holding these side plates on is 2 millimeter bolts, and it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts holding on each side plate. Up front here we have access to the F722 taker, USB-C port right there. In the very back again we have a slot to get to bind up your O3 back here, so a little bit of space there. And in the back we have a little bit of a TPU mount, the XT60, which I love the way this is recessed right here. 2 bolts holding that XT60 in place. It looks like it rises above the carbon plate just a tiny bit. We've got our dual singular antenna in the back here, and we have a spot back here for 2 spots. There is a kind of a push-in spot right here for the miniature Immortal T. I moved it out right here because it seemed like it could kind of pop out of this spot. If you guys can see this real close, it has a little bit of a opening right there, and I kind of wish that was closed so that it would be a little more secure. You can see how this could possibly fall out and come off. And since this antenna is on the outside of the quad, I would really like to see that antenna. Me personally, I know there's probably no space in there, but maybe even put it back here somewhere so that it's on the inside of this quad would probably be a better place for it than on the outside. But they did give a nice little TPU cover on top of it and 2 M2 bolts holding that receiver down. But this wire is exposed right here, so we got to point that out. Your antenna wire is exposed. So if you do crash in the woods somewhere and this gets ripped off, you will definitely lose signal. So I moved it out here so it's a little more secure, but this is where your GPS will mount to in the very back, should you decide to add GPS on here. And here's a nice little 3/4 view of this drone. You can see the O3 camera in the front, the aluminum side plates, your full-size TPU GoPro mount, and the side plates are removable again with 4 bolts on the side. These are little M2 bolts. They had 1 extra long bolt on one side, and I'm assuming that that bolt's probably holding part of this TPU mount in, probably screws right into it there, because there's also 2 M2 bolts right on the top, but none up front. So I'm assuming those come in from the side and hold this down. You can see how it moves a little bit there. And we'll just go ahead and remove this side plate for you. This was the white one, and I'm probably going to replace these with the black ones because I just like the way the black one looks. Again, I'm a fan of like all black, kind of murdered out look there. Now you can see from the side, we have our carbon bottom plate, the kind of it looks like a front to back style design, if I'm right there. 1 long plate from front to back. Yeah, it doesn't stop there. So we have this sort of bottom plate here, which sandwiches all the replaceable arms in place. Just behind that, we've got our receiver here, and we do have TPU bumpers in the front, which I'd like to see there, giving us a little bit of impact resistance when we hit, so we don't tear up our carbon arms or come in for a shady landing. But they do have something new in Betaflight 4.5, which is called Easy Landing, which helps your quad come in and land perfectly. So I'm interested to test out some of the new features of Betaflight 4.5. Maybe, who knows, I'll install it on this quad and fly 4.5 on here. But from the front also, you can see it kind of has a pretty low profile to it. And this is our truck bed from front to back. And again, it fits like a standard 6S battery on there just about perfectly. You can stand it up there and just looks kind of huge on there. but this is the way it's going to roll. It is meant for a full-size XT60 style battery, so it's not a little 4S 850 that you're going to put on here. Most of my 4S 850s have little XT30s on them. I guess if you wanted to fly it lighter, you could do that, but I think these motors are going to drink that lipo juice pretty quickly. So you can see that the stack in here is a Taker. Again, it's the Taker F722 SE. It is a 2-up stack, which means that the ESCs are on the bottom. We have E55A 32-bit 4-in-1 ESCs on the bottom right there. And all the soldering looks decent. A little longer wires in the back here. We have motor wire covers as pretty much standard, adopted from iFlight Evokes a series the same way. So that gives you some wire protection. Years past, we had a lot of wires get kind of ripped off through the trees and the scraggle. And over on this side, you can see the Taker flight controller there, the USB-C port. Looks pretty nice. You have to really watch out for these metal style nuts on top of these stacks. I had one recently with a bind and fly that I got, oh gosh, I can't remember who it was from, but one of them popped off and flew around inside the quad while it was flying, and it shorted out the flight controller. So yeah, it caused a lot of havoc. It even destroyed my TBS Crossfire receiver. There was literally black smoke marks all over the TBS Crossfire receiver. It caused a big fire in the quad, so watch out for these type of metal ones. I would almost replace those with plastic ones just to be safe, and again, double check those. But one of the things you want to do when you get a bind and fly in the mail from China, and you know, I've talked about this before on my channel, go over the entire quad with a driver. Tighten up all the bolts before your first flight, especially on the motors. From the factory, a lot of times these bolts are going to be just a tiny bit loose, and sometimes a lot loose. And you can just snug them up where there's a TPU bumper. Don't go overly tight where the TPU is, but just go over the entire quad with your driver. And you know, you can see these are still taking a little slight turn from the driver, which will help them from backing out and coming loose. Years ago on micro brushless test, I had motors fly off quads just because they weren't tightened up from the factory. You know, someone's just kind of sitting there assembling it at a bench, and these motors, and most of the time from Geprc, a lot of stuff is fairly tight, but you really should just go over the entire quad, like right there. Those two need a little more, a few slight turns there. And there we go. I got the black side plates on there, and I think that looks a lot better. I just like the way that looks. It reminds me of one of the old TBS frames back in the day. I forget which one it is. It's been like 7 years ago that they released that one. It was a 5-inch. Very strikingly similar. It looks more like that frame now that I have these black side plates on here, but I like the venting. I like how it kind of comes out to the side here in the front. It kind of has a little bit of flair to it, and I just like the way it looks, like front to back with a streamlined look as well. Flat top plate here for the bed. There's not a lot of stuff here that's gonna, you know, impose like something like even like a 1300 battery on here. So you still even have maybe like 10 to 15 millimeters back here for this back 3M sticky bed here. So you probably have 10 millimeters in between the sticky bed and the XT60 back here. So that's kind of nice, because when you put your battery here, you're literally, your cable is going to be able to go straight down and plug in, and you don't have a lot of around the bend type of thing happening with an angled XT60 in the back, which I prefer this style design. And I'd love to see this coming up on like future 7-inch and long range style drones, so that I don't have to offset my battery. And with this type of design, it's so short that you really don't want to have something like offset on this quad. But I think it's kind of a cool quad. I don't know what you guys think about it. As far as the price goes, like, it doesn't have an analog version yet. Frame kits, I'm wondering, they should be available soon. This is just the first release of it, and a lot of times these companies come out with their O3 versions first, and then they kind of start releasing the frames, and then the analog version hopefully will come around probably in the $200 to $300 price point. I hope maybe the low 200s would be a good price point for an analog version of this. But right now, as it sits, it's around the $479 price point for ripping the 3.6 inch design here. But I think if you get it, if you're somebody new, especially if you're somebody new that's learning acro and freestyle, this would be something a little tougher than something like the Baby Hawk O3, mainly because we have shorter arms in the front, and shorter arms are not going to break as easily on you. They just won't. And time will tell how these rear arms do as far as these crashes go. But I think it's a pretty solid quad. It feels really beastie in my hands. But, you know, time will tell as far as how these do in the community. If you bought one and you're flying it, let me know down in the comments below how yours is doing and you know, what you think about it. But for now, I'm going to keep flying it, and I'll post some more videos coming up with this drone as well. Some more freestyle videos because it's fun and it's a great little proximity ripper. I know Geprc shows it flying through the mountains and things like that, and I'm wondering how well it'll handle a Lion pack. And I know a lot of you guys are too, but I don't really think that this is going to be a mountain cruiser, a range cruiser, as much as it is a proximity freestyle quad. You know, traditionally Dead Cat is designed to get out there and cruise, but we'll see in the future if it has some duality to it and an extended flight time. But I highly doubt that it's going to handle a 4S Lion or a little mini 6S Lion on here. So I don't know how we're going to accomplish that, but you could try something like a 4S 3000 pack on there if you want to try to fly Lion. But I have a feeling these motors are fairly performance oriented, so I don't think that we're going to see distance and range as a thing for this quad. But put a full-size GoPro in here for 6S power, it will tote it. Or you can also get the GP11, which is the one I recommend from Geprc. This is the decased naked style camera with their little case around it. Much lighter than a full-size GoPro, and it will still mount on the front up here for you. You can get a converter. They also have a GP10 and a GP9 available, I believe. This one's like $600, but yeah, that's what you get for having them decase it for you. GP11, one of the best cameras that you can get right now for FPV Freestyle. But take care, guys, and I will see you on the next one.